Back on the road.
Pretty much been the story.
Still no goats.
Pretty much been the story.
But,
Saw some deer. Saw some coyotes.
Yep.
To watch a guy pass a vehicle and get struck head on.
Yeah, we don't want to see that.
Oh, that was close.
I'll tell you what, it's gorgeous country out here, though. We're I'm not going to divulge where we're completely at, but
Classified. You don't have clearance for it.
yeah, what he said. We are out in I'm just,
South Dakota.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say between Chamberlain and Pierre. That's a big gap. But looking for some antelope, and right now we are striking out big time. South Dakota's got an antelope population that has been expanding. It got hit really hard in the late 2000s due to drought and also some really bad winters. You know, antelope don't winter like deer do. You know, the deer will get down in the river bottoms or in cattails and thick hardwoods, and they'll winter things out. But antelope have been known to, you know, run hundreds of miles to get out of the way of a bad storm. So, you know, that weather can really have an adverse effect on them. But the antelope population east of the Missouri River here in South Dakota has been expanding, and a few years ago they started offering a limited season out here, and it's still pretty limited. There's only about 8 or 9 counties, I think, that are included. But you know, they're doing well enough. They've got the archery season as well, which means that basically anyone can get an archery antelope tag. Any resident can, and come out here and antelope hunt them. But the rifle hunting is very, very restricted. And I think just the low numbers anyway put a damper on the enthusiasm of bow hunters to come out here and pursue them. But you know, it's because it's difficult and it's not easy.
Which is the entire sport of bow hunting.
Right. Well, but it's, you know, I mean, that's bow hunting in general, and so you're adding just another level of that onto that. So while a lot of guys are shying away, we're excited. We're hoping we can pinpoint a few and you know, maybe get some back straps on the grill here in a couple of weeks. What are you thinking right now, Ben?
Thinking you talk a lot.
What are you thinking aside from that?
I don't know. I think it'd be cool to put some East River antelope down. I think that's kind of the big push. Is there's not too many people out there hunting East River antelope, so I think it'd be kind of cool to say not only did we put East River antelope down, but adding the bow to it just kind of salts it a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we've been putting in a lot of hard work. Sighting in our bows. You know, we went out around Belfouche last year and describe that experience for you that first time we were out.
That was somewhat unreal. Just the sheer number of antelope out there, and honestly, mule deer and pretty much everything. There's almost a 25 head of antelope in every field you go by. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but I mean, it's every field is full of antelope, and it makes it fun, but it also makes it difficult because anybody that's ever done any spot and stock knows more eyes, more chances you get busted.
Yeah.
But we definitely put down some good stocks. We were probably doing 4 days we were out there. We probably did 4 or 5 stocks a day between both of us.
Yep.
And we got some good ground covered. We got some knowledge in spot and stalking antelope, which is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely figured out things not to do.
Yeah.
We got close a couple times. We had some missed opportunities a couple times, but it definitely was a learning experience. And quite frankly, I'm very confident that if we went out this year to that same area, we'd probably just the work we've done, tuning the bows, practicing at different distances, getting solid broadhead flight out to 70, 80 yards. I don't think we would have a problem filling tanks this year.
Yeah. Well, you kind of segued into my next question. Was what have you or what have we been doing differently with that experience in our back pocket to help our chances of success this year and going forward?
I think a lot of it has to do with the equipment setup that we adjusted to this year. We did a lot of spot and stock with fixed pins last year. So if you only have 4 pins, that kind of limits the distances that you can be shooting. So the biggest adjustment I think we made to our setups this year was we switched from fixed pins to sliders. So Dakota got a hold of a nice single pin slider, and I got a hold of a nice 3-pin slider. And basically all that's doing for us is that's expanding that max range out. I mean, yours goes out, what, 80 yards?
70.
70 yards.
Yeah.
I can get out to 100 yards with mine. Not so much for shooting at an animal per se, but more so to give us that practice of, shooting something at 100 yards makes shooting something at 60 yards way easier to do.
Yeah.
Just being able to practice that far out and, get your pin float down, shooting at the size of an antelope at 100 yards is a challenging thing to do regardless. And then you put in the mile stock or 2-mile stock, adrenaline. It just makes you that much more prepared for the future shot you might have, which is, overall that's what you're training for. So the sliders have been a huge asset that we gained this year. The other big thing we got is at-home range and mild workshop, I would say. But that pretty much just gave us the ability. We go from 20 yards practicing to last time we did 90 yards, just kind of progressing out. A lot of times we're shooting broadhead field point combos, so we're getting the good broadhead flight out at 90 yards, giving us more or less a confidence in our equipment that we never had before, knowing that, hey, if I do my job right, that broadhead's going to hit right where I want it to, whereas before it was, well, it better not shoot past 30 yards, because who really knows where that broadhead's going to go at 30 yards,
Yeah.
We've been shooting out to 60 yards for a very long time with field points, and we're fairly accurate up to 60 yards.
Yep.
But throwing the fixed blade broadheads that we're shooting in the mix definitely adds a level of technical use that we did not have before. We went through a whole nother tuning process this year than we ever have, and not because we had a different tuning process, but because we never tuned before. So last year before we went out, we did a quick, half an hour to an hour range time where we put broadheads on and we went out and tried to tune field point broadhead connection.
Like 3 days before the season.
3 days before the season. I'd actually just got my new bow, and so we were just kind of setting everything up to begin with, and then we decided to try to tackle broadhead tuning with just minor rest adjustments and going from there. Whereas this year, I would say, I know I started in January last year. I don't know when you started, probably pretty close to that.
Well, I know I was ready to broadhead tune a month before the season started this year.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're definitely more on top of that, and just have that experience and
the level of preparation we took this year compared to last year. I think last year we were anticipating getting those 30, 40-yard shots on antelope. That a couple close ones. I mean, I got into 55 yards. You got into...
on the mule deer, I got some closer chances at, but I didn't have a good chance for antelope.
But it's all adding things to the arsenal that make a difference. And so I guess the biggest thing is, I heard a guy say a little while ago that even if adding something gives you a 0.1% chance better of success, why wouldn't you?
Right.
because it's not harming you at all.
Yep.
So only adding that 0.1% chance, it makes a difference for the better. Why wouldn't you do it? Because everything else is stacked against you already. Bow hunting.
Yep.
That 1% is, or that 0.1% is only going to help. So that's kind of the mindset I took into this off season was, what are some things that I can do that will give me that 0.5% or that percent increase? And the big part of that was the slider, which gives me a lot more practicing range, but that also gives me a lot further effective range. And then just being able to practice out at 60, 70 yards regularly without having to drive anywhere or take time to do that,
right,
has added a lot of help as well. But I think the biggest thing was the broadhead tuning. We actually took time and we actually did it. We started with the French tune, which we'll probably get into that a little bit later.
Yep.
But we did the French tune, and then we did the walk back tune, and then we did broadhead field tip tune, which essentially just makes your broadheads group with your field tips. And honestly, from my experience, with his experience that we did this year, if you can get the French tune good and you can get your walk back tune good, there's not a whole lot of adjustments you're going to have to make for your broadhead field tip tune. It's really going to kind of work itself out. A lot of guys say paper tuning is a really valuable step you have to throw in there. I paper tune with a field tip. I don't bear shaft tune. I throw fletching zone and I paper tune that way because I'm going to make so many adjustments on that rest anyways. Shooting a bullet hole is cool and all, but I'm probably not going to be shooting a bullet hole when I'm done tuning with a broadhead on. So that's probably the bigger issue with fixed blades. When you got mechanical blades, they're meant to fly like field tips, so you don't have to put a whole lot of work into tuning those because they're designed to fly exactly like field tips. Whereas fixed blades, you're pretty much throwing fletchings on the front of your arrow, which are causing different steering from the front as in the back. So you have 2 points of steering, whereas with the field tip, you only have the fletchings in the back. So that's why broadhead tuning your fixed blades are fairly important because you do have that drag and steerage up front and in the back. So that was the big move we did, and we honestly still kind of do that. I do an update French tune just about every time I shoot. I have a little bag set up in my garage that I French tune on. So, I got 5 minutes, I'll sling 2 or 3 arrows just to make sure I'm still on, hitting the line where I want to, and then I know my broadheads are flying pretty dang well too. So,
well, we're going to segue away from your oral dissertation here. This year we're bringing along a great friend of ours, Trent Hahn. How you doing, Trent?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. So, this is your first year shooting a bow, right?
It is. Back when Ben and I were still in high school together, because we grew up together, we've known each other for 20 plus years at this point. Back when Ben was starting to get into bow hunting, I shot his bow a couple times. I liked it, but I never really did anything with it. And this year, I got a bonus at my work and decided, heck with it, I'm going to try to get into bow hunting a little bit. And
attaboy.
so I've been practicing for about a month, and I'm still not very good, but we're getting there.
Great.
Yeah, and then actually my wife she got her own bow, and then she got one of her friends to get a bow, so it's
spreading.
It's spreading. It's good.
It's spreading faster than the Rona.
nothing spreads faster than the Rona.
No, it's something fun that we can do together. If we want to go out to an archery range and we just want to sling a couple arrows, and we can do that. We go out to my parents' farm. We just set up a hay bale and we shoot at that, and makes a cheap and easy target.
Well, what are your you're not even a year into it yet. Here, this is going to be the first.
I'm about a month into owning a bow.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Well, what are your thoughts, your impressions here thus far?
Well, I've never really gone scouting before, so this is kind of a new experience.
Yeah.
It's just a lot to take in, and it's a lot of information that's thrown at you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's we talked about this off camera, but it's trying to figure out what I need to look for when I'm looking for deer on the side of the road or antelope or whatever.
Yep.
Looking at what I need to look out for, and then recognizing it, and then being like, oh, that's a deer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an antelope. Oh, there's a coyote out there, you know?
Yeah.
One thing that was kind of funny when we went out scouting this morning, though, is Ben and I heard a rustling kind of underneath us.
Oh boy.
And it was a coyote that came out probably, what, 50, 60 yards
Yeah.
underneath us?
And apparently I'm blind because I didn't see it whatsoever.
I didn't see it either, but Ben saw it. And I don't know, it's just a fun experience just getting out in nature and,
Oh yeah.
you know, just being outside is always good for the soul.
It is. You know, when it's neat to see the fawns playing and prairie dogs chastising each other and you know, the coyotes running the creeks and stuff like that. It's just it's awesome, and to be able to just sit back and watch these animals and be able to learn their habits and really traits, different things. You know, they all need food, they need water, they need shelter, bedding, and being able to, you know, figure out which trails they're using and why. You know, what habitat is best for them and why. You know, it's just it's a really neat, fun thing to learn and unlock, and there's just so much you can learn from watching animals, and even just from watching, it's just amazing just how much more that prepares you for success as a hunter and an outdoorsman. So, but no, we're glad to have you out here with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
You bet. We are going to try and find some antelope here, but we'll be back with you soon. So we'll see you on that Sodak horizon.